right.
Welcome back to Another Dimension. I'm Quinn.
I'm Trask.
I am Taylor.
Good
Hey,
afternoon, Taylor.
What up, guys?
Hey, I have a question for you both.
All right.
What is the significance of 184?
What is the significance of 184
4 hours. Yep.
hours?
184 hours.
Hours in a week? I don't know. 7 times 24. No, it's 168.
Does it have anything to do with a previous episode?
No.
Okay.
But it does have, that's how many hours people watched our stuff last week.
184 hours.
184 hours. Isn't that crazy?
They must be really
so it
bored.
does have to do with
So
a previous
thank you.
episode.
You guys must be really bored, or you're doing it while you're just starting it on your TV and letting it play all night while you're sleeping. So either way, we appreciate it. We also hit 500 subscribers this week, so that was a pretty big step. So
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking at my phone last night. Every 5 minutes, it was at 499, kept going, and then finally it did 500. 501 as of this
that's
morning.
awesome. So thank you.
But you
We
can't
appreciate
tell
it.
who the subscribers are, right?
Kind of.
They show you
So
some.
who's number 500?
It doesn't say that. But
No.
if you guys find this, do us a favor. Keep doing what you're doing. So thank you. And, share it with someone that you might think it's interesting, or they might think it's interesting. So we'll keep doing these. Hop into this week. You see what happened in Louisville? With the truck hanging off the bridge?
Yeah, I did. I don't know how it happened.
What would you do if that was you? God forbid it's
If I was
no one we
driving
know.
that truck?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, so a truck was hanging off like the side
Yeah,
of an
so
overpass,
they don't
right?
know why it lost control, but it was the third accident there on 65 in Louisville by the bridge. Third accident in 3 days, all with 18-wheelers.
Really?
Yep. So I don't know if it's like a design flaw or what.
That's
but
a fairly new bridge, I think, that they put in there.
I don't know.
Past couple of years.
Yeah. But lost control and went through the concrete barrier and came to a stop with the truck hanging off the side of the bridge. I think I would, even if I didn't, the guy's safe. They rescued him. But I think I would have died. Heart attack or crap
Be
my
like,
pants
yeah,
for sure.
I'm just going to walk
Yeah,
home.
yeah, I'm done.
Like,
Yeah, it's over. But so that in the news, hopefully that never happens to anyone listening or anyone. Just be safe out there, be diligent.
he's probably following too close.
Yeah, something.
6 seconds.
Right? You're hitting on that again. The 45's truck stop in South Corinth, Mississippi, which is right over the border. The northern side of Mississippi was raided this week with basically a pharmacy of drugs. Tenapoli or something. I have no idea. And kratom.
Kratom. Yeah,
Kratom, whatever it is like Indonesian medical herbal medicine. It's illegal. And then the tenapanine or whatever is they're considering the convenience store heroin. So is
it legal?
No, it's a Schedule 1.
Okay.
It's legal in like Europe and other places. They use it to treat depression and like a painkiller kind of thing. But here, like if it's mixed with other things, it's basically the convenience store heroin is what they're calling it. So people are hooked on it. It's going to be the next bath salt. But yeah, I mean, it was like thousands and thousands of cans of this stuff. So not good.
A bunch of pills.
Yeah. A bunch of Viagra.
Bunch of
900
like knockoff Viagra or
Yeah.
something, right?
912 like
Counterfeit.
yeah,
knockoff-
counterfeit Viagra's
knockoff.
displayed for sale. Must have a problem down there. But anyway, funny thing is my step grandparents are from Corinth, or just
really?
just right by it, yeah. And it is like old school, like very like country down south. So when I saw that, it didn't surprise me. But in other news, the Road Blitz next week. We've hit on this the last couple weeks. May 12th through the 15th, they are hitting tires and logs.
Correct.
What do we need to watch out for as truck drivers?
Well, you always should have your stuff safe and up to speed. But if you don't, I mean, tires, 430 seconds on your steers, 230 seconds on your drive are the minimum, right?
Other way.
No.
Steers. Yeah, sorry. I was backwards. Yep. My bad.
typically 105 pounds of pressure in them, PSI. Make sure there's no bulging. Yeah, cord showing, bulging spots. It's all just
unusual wear.
Yeah. Logs. Make sure you're. There's not too many form and manner fines or citations anymore that I know of. But like, hey, because it fills your name in for you. I mean, that's one thing. But hey, do your pre-trip, do your post-trip, annotate your logs. Say, hey, I'm loading, I'm fueling, I'm unloading, whatever you're doing.
Lunch break. Pre-trip, post-trip.
Yeah, and then your logging device has to be securely mounted in your vehicle.
Yep.
Certify your log every day.
Make sure
your
DVIR,
shipping ID,
bill lading numbers, all that kind of stuff.
Your trailer and truck numbers,
which is super easy. It takes 2 seconds in the morning to make sure that that's right.
If you're not doing that, that's shame on you.
Right.
I mean, we've talked about this before. You'd have to back in the day with the paper logs, and some people still run them, but paper logs you have to literally write everything on them. Some of them,
carry a ruler.
Carry your logging ruler.
Yep.
Some of the carriers had their own printed logs with their name and address and stuff on them, but you still had to fill them out. You had to check the boxes that
flag where you're
staying. I don't know if you had to check them that you inspected it or check it if it was faulty. It's been a while, but you had a whole list on the bottom that you had to go through.
That's crazy. That was 7 years ago when e-logs went into effect.
Is that it?
I think 2018, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But so, yeah, I mean, as a rule of thumb, have your stuff up to speed all the time, but be aware they're going to be looking for it.
Yeah, and, good luck. Most carriers, I mean, you hear the old school guys, I'm not going to take any freight this week. And really, that's good for you. That's your prerogative, right? But what does that tell you? I mean, we're still battling that as an industry where...
Well, I don't know. I get nervous every time I go to a scale. Hey, even though I did a thorough pre-trip or whatever, and I went through everything with a fine-tooth comb, do I have a light out that just happened? Do I have an air leak that I missed? There's all those things that happen. As long as you look, this is the way I look at it. If I look in the mirror and say, hey, I did my thorough job.
Yep.
If something happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
What else can you do? I mean, stuff is going to fail. Stuff is going to become faulty. All of those things are bound to happen. If it's not now, it's when, right? Mm-hmm. But if you...
Equipment breaks down.
99%, 100% of the time say, hey, I've done everything I could. What else can you ask for?
Mm-hmm. It's unnerving this time of year pulling in a scale, or I don't know if they still do it, but they used to, I think Ohio was bad for it, where they'd pull into the rest areas and, wake you up. Yeah. And you heard horror stories where now they broke your 10-hour break. And
right. Which is...
That's crap.
It's bull crap, but I don't know. It's like they shouldn't be doing that.
I've never experienced it.
Right.
It's just road stories.
I guess. Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't know.
Awesome. Well, next week we'll send out a memo to all our guys. If you have any other tips or tricks for that, let us know. Comment. Keep them up. We appreciate it. Want to hop right into word of the day, or do you want to do the CDL?
Let's do the word of the day.
You know what it is?
I don't even know what it is.
I'm trying to figure out how to use this in a sentence.
Right.
The word of the day is good numbers. It's 2 words, but good numbers. That's all I can say. I don't know how to use it in a sentence.
Good numbers.
Yep. Just trucker slang.
Like positive inspection, or
so
like
generic.
Kind of
like a clean inspection.
Can I second that?
That's best wishes. I was trying to figure out how to say it without saying wishing
best wishes.
Yeah, wishing you good numbers.
Oh,
I don't know. So yeah, word of the day. Hope everyone has a good numbered week next week. I don't know if that makes sense, but whatever.
It does now.
Yeah. I'm gonna coin it. It's probably trademarked already.
I don't think that's accurate.
No. Speaking of people that are good numbered, let's talk about Pete Smanza.
Pete Spanza.
Oh, this guy got me this weekend. He really bugged me.
Why? Is this our
Just
comment?
out of nowhere, just writes, I hate tarps. Like,
All
one,
right.
okay,
All right.
good for you. Cool. Yeah, comment of the week goes to Pete Smanza. That guy, he got my goat.
I hate tarps.
Like,
okay.
What is your context? Like, is this just a statement? Are you saying, hey, this ad sucks, I don't want a tarp? Or, like, why? You know? So, anyway.
You ever
good for
meet
him.
those people that like just have to add some type of negative comment to a conversation? There's no optimism.
Yeah.
Kind of seems like that.
Okay, if you don't like tarps, why?
Do you think
why
he
even-
walks the other way in Menards when he sees the tarps on the shelf?
Guaranteed. You can't go down this aisle.
I hate those.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That is funny.
Like, just keep your comments to yourself, right? Like, there's
If you don't have
multiple of
something
them.
nice to say, then don't say it.
Or-
actually, we encourage.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
keep it up.
It helps the channel.
Yeah,
so
it does. Yeah,
comment.
I mean, but like that was just dumb. Like, I self-picked that one. We probably should have voted on the comment of the week, but
No,
that
that's a
guy
good one.
just.
Did we get called morons this week?
Nope.
I don't think
No?
so.
No, we had a
Idiots?
nice one. Somebody agreed with you and said,
Jeez Louise.
no, we didn't get that.
Really?
Meat, very clever name.
Oh, meat.
Romney.
Yeah, Meat Romney. Had a nice-
MEAT and then Romney. Said, I work in this industry. I've never said no to a driver that asked and related to bathrooms.
The bathrooms.
Oh.
I could never understand why you would disallow someone that is keeping your business above ground to use the bathroom. They locked in and didn't stop just to get to you sooner.
Right.
Thanks, Meat. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I know this is way off topic, but did you hear what's
We don't
going?
have a topic.
Did you hear what happened out in Fremont at Chico's boat landing?
Oh,
Did you hear
Fremont,
yeah. I
Wisconsin.
saw the original post when it had one like.
This is why you don't do stupid stuff anymore. So I don't know the whole story, but
You want the whole story?
I don't know if we have time.
I'll give it to you. I'm very familiar with the guys and stuff.
Go.
A kid basically wrote a negative Google review about the place because he
And what
went
is it?
there.
Hold
It's
on. What is this?
This
What
is
are
a
we
bait
doing?
shop.
Bait shop.
So they're a
Bait
bait shop. They're a boat rental.
And they have
they've
some
got
cabins for rent.
Cabins, kind of your all-in-one resort on the Wolf River.
Okay.
Kid and his buddies go there to buy a bucket of bait. His buddies go into the bathroom to use the bathroom while they're there. In the process of it, the owner asks if they're renting their pontoon boat from his place, and they say, no, we're renting from a place up the river. They're tied to his dock. So it starts with him yelling at them saying, then you got to pay a dock fee. And they're like, we're here buying bait from you. So it starts there, kind of a scuffle. They go out in the boat. In the meantime, the kid writes a Google review while they're on the water.
They had left.
They're downriver.
Okay.
The owner comes flying down the river in his bass boat, screaming at him. There's a video of it. They got a video of it. In a very thick Russian accent, saying, "I'll fight you, mother effer," just screaming at them. And his kid and wife are in the boat with him. So obviously they take the video and post it, and it went
It was on Fox
viral.
11 last night. I mean, this morning I was reading the comments in bed, and like every second I refreshed, there was negative comment or negative review after negative review.
If you're familiar kind of with the fishing community around here, this has happened many times out there. This is just the one that got recorded and documented.
But
It's a Eastern European family that's buying up a lot of the businesses along the Wolf River. They own a bunch of places. They actually own the other bait shops in Fremont, which a lot of people don't realize. But then they put out this apology, and it was absolutely terrible. It like made things 10 times worse, but it was pretty wild.
Oh man.
But now they're they got a lot of money. They'll figure it out. But I mean, that place is gonna go when the fishing community bands together. They band together. Yeah, not good.
Sorry, that was random, and it just kind of tied in there. But yeah, it's I couldn't imagine I would never get in my boat and chase someone, and they were in there as a paying customer, like buying bait. But
Yeah.
I get it. One way or another.
You want me to take the other side?
Sure. Let's hear it.
Why do you got to do this stupid Google review stuff? Like, why does everybody need to know your business?
100%.
I think it's childish. You know what? I had dinner and my waitress sucked. Well, maybe it was her first night. Maybe her sister died. Maybe whatever. I'm just taking the other side.
Yeah.
Do I think this guy was right? No, I don't. But
Look at you.
I don't know.
You're
Society
growing.
sucks.
You're growing.
I'm growing up.
Yeah.
I just think it's
I'm all
childish. It's
about
stupid.
it.
It's like our Facebook comments. Like,
Right. Right.
If
I'm
you
all
read
about
the
it.
Google, if
I'm
you
all
read
about
the
a
Google
positive
review,
Google review, though. I think they deserve a good kudos if they're doing something good. Because if I'm traveling to a town that I have absolutely no idea about, right? I am going to Google a restaurant if we're going out to dinner, and if there's one that's 5 stars and one that's 3 stars, I'm going to the one that's 5 stars if it's comparable.
that's I get that, but okay, the three of us went to the same restaurant, right?
Right.
And yours was good, and you guys both wrote great reviews, and my soda was flat. So I wrote a negative review where I could have just said, hey, your soda's flat, maybe you need to change the CO2.
100%.
I think a restaurant's a unique situation because it's so subjective. Like, I might say that plate right there is the best meal I've ever had. I know people that would send back and complain about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Then this situation, it's really just more of like, there's a lot of wrong here.
Yeah.
I get it because I mean, look at Yelp. They got their reputation's in the shitter because everybody became a Yelp reviewer, and then that's more of the road you're going down, where just like everybody has to leave their opinion on everything.
It doesn't matter.
But if I'm,
I don't care about your opinion, and you don't care about mine, and I'm good with that.
500
right?
people care about our opinions.
501.
Yeah. But
Fair
no,
take.
I agree.
Fair
But
take.
like, I think a good kudos here and there is fine. Like, if someone goes above and beyond,
100%.
It also really helps those businesses.
Yeah, I'm all about leaving a good review for someone that does something good.
The Google reviews, literally.
Maybe one of them kids said something back to him. Should he leave a Google review about that? There's 3 sides to every story, Trask.
Right. I agree. My side,
And
what actually
if it was on
happened,
the
and
news,
my
I think it's
side.
total.
Well, like the sheriffs got called. Like it was.
It
like,
wouldn't have made the news had it not gotten there is one of those stories where like we have to pick this up because someone.
But I feel
else
like I'm in a
is going to.
fighting mood. Like, I hate the local news. Like, how much of that is actual and how much of it is, or all media is twisted.
except for this. This is truthful.
This is as real as it gets.
Right.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, it's fine. I mean,
fair.
it's a good
Yeah.
good side note, but yeah.
Don't.
I mean, we maybe it's just heartfelt because we got some bad Google reviews.
Yeah.
With people we didn't even know or associate with or ever work with.
They knew someone that we did not hire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Does
blame
that go
your
back to you
opinion
having the
yourself.
same name as that one other company that we kind of used to know?
No,
No.
it was
Nothing like
the,
that?
the guy actually applied here.
Oh.
But told someone that we didn't hire him because of a certain reason, and it wasn't that reason.
I remember this.
It was something completely different.
He wasn't qualified.
He was not qualified. He had like 18 jobs in 12 months.
I remember this.
And then blamed it on something completely different, and then his crony.
And there was a time way back when where I got accused of something and we were on the news and it was complete false. And we had a federal DOT audit because of it.
Yeah.
And it was complete
Yeah.
and utter bullshit.
Yeah, and weren't you out of the country like the one vacation you
The
took?
one vacation
Yeah.
I took, I was in the airport in Jamaica.
Yeah, that's why you don't go on vacations
And
anymore.
Troy called and said, hey, the feds are here. And I said, okay. And he said, they need this and this and this. And I said, well, can you tell them I'll be there tomorrow? He said, yeah, I tried that.
Jeez.
So,
Jeez Louise.
So yeah, we went through that and
It was bullcrap.
it was on the news. It was all kinds of stuff.
You had a building get burnt down.
Yeah, we had an arson fire in Indiana.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's crazy. All in 15 years.
That may have all happened, but you weren't on camera screaming and swearing at a bunch of kids.
Right, but if there was a camera there, I probably would have been caught
Right.
yelling and
Right.
screaming about something.
That's funny. That's funny.
Wild.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, the world is just too connected. It's in a good way, great, but in another way, it's not good.
bring on the bad reviews this week. I can't wait.
No, don't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't say that.
Negative comments.
Yeah,
yes.
negative comments.
Not
awesome.
bad reviews.
You don't want bad reviews.
We don't want bad reviews.
But
Okay.
service is all we can sell, right? We go above and beyond to try to give the best product every time we can.
And we do the best we can. And
You know what? If it's not perfect, it'd be darn close.
You guys are pretty damn good, though.
Yeah. Shout out to the guys yesterday. Knocked out 15 loads in a 1 day span. It was awesome. Customer called, which we usually don't get very often, which was nice. They called to just say thanks to the guys. So the guys up there loading.
The other portion of that I didn't tell you was we know the guy that was running the crane.
Yeah.
And when we work with them, it's nice pulling up to a job site and they're there.
Yeah.
Things go smooth.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, let's hop into something that's not awesome. Let's talk about over 15,000 drivers in Houston, Texas, or they technically aren't from Houston, Texas. They don't have to be. But
2 doctors from Houston, Texas.
2 chiropractors from Houston, Texas.
Doctors of the
Practic.
That back.
Quacks.
Sure.
No. I know some chiropractors that are good people. Dr. Kenny.
Yeah. T Master, she's awesome. Bosma?
I don't know who that is.
I got a couple chiropractor guy people.
Nice. Ross Jensen in Appleton. Shout out.
But
my boy.
They were on the National Registry up until April 11th. And for those of you that don't know what the National Registry is, in order to get your Fed Med card,
which you need to do interstate driving.
Yep. Was that 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years ago? I don't remember when.
6, 7, 8.
Whatever. Less than 10 years. The FMCSA mandated that doctors need to be certified, and it was their way to tighten up the truck stop.
Standardize the testing.
Yeah, standardize the
qualifications.
Testing. You could no longer go to the state line and get your Fed Med card to help prevent unqualified drivers, unhealthy drivers, whatever that may be, from getting a CDL and being able to continue operating a motor vehicle. So to protect all of us, right? The motoring public, other drivers, companies, whatever. So back when that happened, and I forget exactly when that happened, they instituted the National Registry. So the doctor needs to complete a certain certification. They get added to this National Registry. I think there's 38,000 doctors on this registry. And those are the people those are the doctors that you can get your Fed Med card from.
Your DOT is physical.
Yep. 2 doctors in Houston were notified of being removed of this back in early April because they weren't standing up to they weren't following the guidelines.
Yeah, their standards were not being, the federal standards weren't being met.
Correct. So there is 2 years worth of Fed Med cards that have been issued, which is over 15,000 drivers in Houston. I think it was like 15,300, and I'm sure more are going to come from this doctor's office that need to renew their med cards
by May 10th, right?
By May 10th, which I think is Sunday.
Is that not a lot of drivers for just 2
that's
guys?
That's exactly what I said.
I'm just doing the math in my head,
it's
and
10
I'm
a day
like,
per doctor.
That's insane.
Well, and how long does that take?
It varies by each person, but I would say
I don't know that answer, but
my sessions are 20
that's
minutes.
10 a day on a 7-day week.
I would say our DOT physicals are like an hour, because you got to do a urine sample and all that
So those
stuff.
doctors are working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week?
Were they?
I'm guessing there's nurses and stuff too.
Right.
But anyway, that
doesn't sound
That was
right.
the first thing I said.
Yeah.
And that was red flag number 1, but red flag number 2, I don't. How do you pump that out? It kind of brings you back to the old pill mills where now they standardize that with doctors.
Well, that seems like, isn't there? I could be way off on this. Isn't there only 63,000 drivers in the U.S.? Am I way off?
63,000?
I read something.
No.
CDL.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that's way off.
That's. I think you
that was
forgot a
dumb.
0 or 2.
That was dumb.
Yeah, that was.
But anyways, 15,000. That's a lot.
3.5 million.
Yeah, carry the
Maybe
one.
it was 63,000 loss or entrant. Since this whole tariff thing, I think it raised 63,000 drivers or something. I don't know. I don't know.
A lot of people, either way.
Anyway,
Hearing
15,000.
that, I am now dumber.
Yes. 15,000 is a lot of drivers.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a whole small town.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Where'd they find them?
Right. So, or was it a known spot that Like, I'm sure there's other spots around the area.
There might be some other fallout with this.
Right.
Who was feeding those drivers to these doctors?
Or was it just like the old trucks? Remember the one at the state line?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone always joked, like, hey, you could just walk in and you could get, here's an extra $100.
Really?
And they'd give guys,
Here you go. Here's your Fed
or
Med
drivers, I should say, here's your Fed Med card. They won't even examine you. You could literally get it at the state line in 5 minutes.
You wonder how much of that like goes on.
Well, that's what I'm guessing. I'm thinking, like, when they started seeing these numbers, if they would have just, toned her down a little bit, they probably would have.
Everybody talks about highway safety. There's so much that goes into that. I think you're going to talk about non-domicile drivers next. Is that a factor? Is the language barrier, English speaking, a factor?
Right.
Is the Fed Med certification process a factor? You're going to get into schooling, I think, as well.
There's so many different arms to all of this. To keep it all straight, it would just be better if everything was standardized, which I think they're making a good attempt at doing these things with the clearinghouse, these, the National Registry, all the training programs. But, okay, so now you get certified to be a training program. How often
Does that get audited?
Yeah, how often do you get audited? And what does that audit look like? Because, you can look good on paper right away. I mean, that's how I got through school. But that doesn't mean that you're going to adhere to those if you're not being checked. Like, people start to decline, or like, oh, that's difficult. Let's just, I don't agree with that. Let's just let that one slide or whatever.
Yeah.
So how do you regulate that? Which dives into a whole nother topic of, hey, insurance companies, that's why they're so strict. There are these people out there, like, they have to protect themselves and all of those other things, which just keeps alluding to a bigger and bigger problem that we call trucking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a lot that goes into it that a lot of people don't understand and a lot of people don't think about.
I don't think we understand it all.
No.
I mean, it's crazy. So let's have you run with the non-domicile drivers and how this plays a factor in it. What are they?
Well, we talked about non-domicile drivers a couple weeks ago because Arkansas was passing a bill, right?
Right.
Non-domicile just means they're not a driver who's not a U.S. citizen, but does hold a CDL.
Okay.
And that was a hot topic. And in the article we were reading, the stance was, hey, yes, that is a concern and that could be an issue. More of an issue that they are, quote unquote, stealing the American work or freight. Okay. Debatable. But also that just because you're not a domicile driver or don't speak English doesn't mean you're an unsafe driver.
Correct.
Which was an interesting spin on it because everybody, jumps on the bandwagon about, hey, you need to speak English and you need to be domiciled in the U.S. I do think that stuff is important, 100%. I think it should be a part of the standardized testing or standardized
process.
Process to get your CDL.
Right.
But there's so many other factors.
Being able to read and identify and communicate, right? It doesn't matter where you're from.
Right.
But there is a safety concern of not being able to do those things because...
I think so.
Yeah, I would agree. But that article also said professionalism isn't judged on your ethnicity or where your home is.
Right.
Your work ethic isn't judged on that. Which I think is where you're going with, hey, you're right. Like, I agree with that. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, where you're from, what your religious beliefs are. If you're a hard worker and you are doing everything that you can
Legal
and doing
right.
it legally, heck yeah.
But it's got to be safe.
It's got to be safe. Right. So, yeah. Another thing they said, too, that I thought was interesting is crashes don't care where you're from. Accidents don't care where you're from. It doesn't. They happen to everyone.
Which is kind of a safety topic,
right?
That we've talked about as well. But get out and look, goal.
Yeah.
Get out and look. Everybody thinks about accidents and crashes happening on the roads at high speed. But what about the low speed crashes and things you can avoid? We're human. I'm human. But here's just some things that happened to us. We hit a garage door. The garage door wasn't all the way up, right? Backed into it. What about the bolsters, the yellow poles outside of garage doors that protect the garage doors? People hit those a lot. You see yellow scrapes on things.
Ripped a mirror off of a brand new truck.
That was a while ago. A guy ripped a mirror off a brand new truck at a
Going
toll
through
booth.
a toll booth.
Hitting curbs with tires.
Right.
Backing into like a Jersey barrier at a truck stop or whatever. Those low speed maneuvering things. Get out and look, especially if you're backing, or if it's tight.
We had one with a carrier yesterday.
Yeah.
Carrier hauling a load for us. Place was tight. Customer sent us video footage of it, but the yard was tight. Didn't have a spotter. Should have probably approached it and planned it a little bit better, but basically
got out and looked.
Yeah, basically did a U-turn, and the back of his trailer, he was focused on not hitting something up in the driver's side front, and wasn't paying attention to the back of his trailer, and the swing caught a piece of equipment they had and basically dragged it across the parking lot and damaged it. So,
yeah.
I mean,
low speed.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, and hopefully, it'll be an easy repair. But if that was someone,
what happens if somebody would have been back there?
Right. That's why they call them accidents. But those are things that can be prevented, and even the least amount of things. Being on the fire department, I mean, I remember distinctively two things that stand out in my mind. Rolled up on an accident, and this truck was mangled and the top was sheared off. And I'm like expecting the worst. The guy is standing next to it, not a scrape on his body. I mean, truck went under a semi-trailer, everything taken off. Like he must have ducked perfectly fine, shooken up a little bit, obviously scared, but nothing wrong. Look at this, making hair stand up on my arms. Walked away without a scratch. And then you see like a minor fender bender and someone dies. Yeah. It's crazy. It can happen. Yeah. So, yeah. They had talked about apprenticeship programs too. What are your thoughts on that? Is that what the schooling system is trying to do?
I don't know. I don't know much about the training programs anymore, but to your point, you do have to go through a certified school now, right? Like driving school to obtain your CDL, where I didn't.
No.
My dad taught me, and I had a couple other various opportunities to learn, but then they had third-party testing, and you got yours through a local carrier here. Yeah. I got mine. I went out to Shawano to a third-party thing, and drove their truck, and they gave me a CDL. And
I think I could probably say this now because he's gone, but I legitimately got there on a Saturday, and he's like,
sure you want to admit this?
What? Past the next week.
All right.
He's like, I got to fail you. I said, I didn't even start yet. He goes, yeah, I know, but I got to keep my numbers up. He made me come back the next Saturday. Jeez. But I knew the guy my whole life. But yeah, I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah, so now you have to go through like a tech college or like around here we have the Sun Prairie Driving School.
Well, Fox Valley Tech too.
Yeah, Fox Valley Tech.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh yes.
But I think that's good for the industry, and it gives some standardization.
Because there's a curriculum developed, right? Like they're just like when you go to become an apprentice for electrical work or a plumber or a steam fitter. These are things that you need to do to complete your job.
And you learn. It's
hands-on.
Yeah. So I mean, if you systematically look at everything, there's now you have the standard school, right? Yep. There's the standard training. There is the standardized FedMed certification process. There is the standardized drug pool.
Yep.
With the clearinghouse. All that stuff is stacking up.
Just takes some time.
It takes some time. Thought of making the road safer, whether it does or not. I don't know. Time will tell. I hope it does.
Right? Like the ELD, the regulations on all that, the driving, all of those things. Yes, at times they may seem like they are a nuisance, but they're all adding up to keep your loved ones safe.
Mm-hmm. And I think we as an industry, to take it the other way, we as an industry have created some of this stuff. Hey, pushing drivers out because they have to be, they talk about some of the mega carriers in their schooling. Just push them out. We need drivers. The volume of freight that needs to be moved in the United States, like, hey, they needed those drivers. How about rates?
Right.
Falling rates. because more people were. I don't know how I'm going to relate that one,
but you could combat that with like if you have more drivers down the road. Yes, you have a bigger expense, but you have more to spread it out upon.
True.
So
yeah,
that's really how that would correlate.
But all that stuff, there's so much that goes into it.
It's crazy. It's actually a pretty complex industry. Everyone just thinks
it's very simple, but it's not.
No, and it's tied to a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on the whole standardizing everything?
I think it's great. I mean, why wouldn't you? I would think it would be, you can't be a doctor without going through the schooling, right?
Right.
So why should you be able to be a truck driver without going through the schooling? And I know it's hypocritical because I didn't.
Yeah, but it wasn't required then.
It wasn't required. I do think that on the job, my opinion, I think on the job training is better than some higher education in a lot of cases.
I would agree with that.
I don't really want to touch that
It's
topic,
probably
but
a different.
I went to college, but I feel like I learned more growing up, working out in the shop with my dad, or working on the farm, or working with other people that actually knew how to get shit done more than I did listening to some guy in college. Not that it didn't help me, because it did.
It taught you how to be accountable and how to do a lot of things. I learned a
lot of stuff, but some of the best training, in my opinion, came from hands-on.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, each person's different. You have book smart people and you have street smart or, hands-on people.
It worked for me.
Just because you're one of those types doesn't mean that you still can't do a job just as good as someone else.
True.
Yes, a hands-on driver would probably be more beneficial, but I mean, if you have the right schooling or know what to do in situations, you can probably train someone through a lot of the things short of a major repair or something like that, right? But yeah, I agree with the standardization. My fear is I hope the schooling system doesn't get to the point where it feels pressure to get people through, or almost like the private sponsors, which we're kind of seeing down the road with us, where certain mega carriers are sponsoring the school. Do they get pull and be able to, granted?
Well, and they have their own school, I think. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But think about this. Right now, we, per our insurance company, can't hire somebody unless they have 2 years experience, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If everybody comes out of school and they all have this exact same training, will the insurance company, maybe they meet that requirement already. Hey, right. Because they were trained in this, will the insurance companies look at that different? And is that level of playing field for small guys like us?
Maybe. I was actually going to bring up the fact too of like, if you can go fight a war at 18, why can't you drive a semi across state lines? If they open that up.
Or have a beer.
Yeah. I remember being 18 and like, it's a different mindset, right? But that's not to say that there weren't 18-year-olds that were mature enough to drive a semi. I wasn't. But there are people that are out there that could for surely do it. A farm kid or something like that. That's all they know. You got 12-year-old kids driving semis around in the ag world because it's legal. But it's a crazy concept, but more to come on it, I guess. I wonder what the next thing to be standardized in the industry is going to be.
Good question.
I don't know.
Time will tell.
Yeah, leave your thoughts. Last thing I'd like to cover is kind of a downer this week. We'll leave it on a low note, but it'll only be better for next week.
All right.
Let's talk about the layoffs in the logistics industry and the manufacturing industry. UPS, 20,000 jobs leaving the United States.
Really?
Yep. Penske Logistics, which I'm assuming is probably like their truck leasing or something like that. 300 jobs in Mississippi. They used to park their trucks at that 45 truck stop. So can no longer park there. I think that might be it.
Yeah.
But that U.S. Express, 56 jobs out of their corporate office in Chattanooga. Which,
some of that stuff, take with a grain of salt. We mentioned last week that we were coming up with ways to cut jobs, which wasn't the right terminology.
Correct.
But we were looking to streamline things and not have to hire some people if we didn't need to, right?
Right.
Again, my personal feeling is a lot of those big companies have people that they don't.
They needed to trim the fat.
Yes. I posed a question to Ken a couple months ago. I said, what does that person do? Well, I don't know. I can't answer that. They're on LinkedIn a lot. And I'm like, is that like justifiable? And he kind of chuckled and looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
But I'm like, you guys could say the same thing about me. What do I do? I know you guys do operations. I know you do podcasts. I know like you're doing all this stuff. I don't know what I do half the time. So it's probably
I walk
nothing.
out of here in a blur a lot.
Yeah.
How did we get through that?
But maybe I'm the fat that needs to get trimmed. But I don't know. Like, okay, U.S. Express cut 56 jobs. That's a small portion.
It is. That is. But the 20,000 jobs was...
Yeah, that
Was
hurts.
that just spread across the company?
Across the United States, they said.
But not all drivers? Just
No,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm sure that there was probably a portion of drivers, which makes zero sense because like the postal system sucks.
I know.
So like they should be taking advantage of that. But
That's the
maybe
USPS.
Maybe one day delivery.
Yeah, I know.
One day free deliveries aren't going to be a thing anymore. I mean, I ordered something for $10 off of Amazon. It was at my house 19 hours later. How long can you keep up with that system?
Well, it's volume.
But like it just blew my mind that I'm not kidding, it was $9.99 and it was at my house the next day before 24 hours was up. It just blew my mind. Like,
that's crazy.
You tell somebody 20 or 30 years ago that would be the case, and like that would have rocked your world.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Well, they also another random fact before we get into the last layoffs about Cleveland Cliffs is from Dallas to Houston this week, the first ever autonomous truck delivery happened.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I was going to send you that.
They say by 2030, that industry is going to be a $1 trillion industry with autonomous trucks. And they say if it takes off, it could eliminate 80% of over-the-road truck driving jobs. Isn't that scary?
Yeah, it is.
Now, you'll have final miles and stuff like that, and
why
you no longer have a driver shortage.
Why isn't somebody come? Why do they need a truck? I mean, I know you need a truck to pull a thing, but it's a like a regular Class 8 semi.
It's a semi.
Why does it have to be like that? Why can't you just put like some sort of power unit under the kingpin and let it go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or somebody
I'm
sitting
sure-
in it.
I don't know if I think this one was actually fully autonomous
Fully
from
autonomous.
point A to point B.
Yep.
And then it like parked at a truck stop and a driver drove it in the last mile because they don't have a way to open the doors, which I'm sure that's coming. Flatbed world, they don't have a way currently to strap shipments, but that could easily be fixed. You know what I mean? Guy at the receiver now does it or whatever,
Maybe.
but it's not.
Maybe.
I don't think we're going there, especially in our industry. But this one kind of hit a little bit closer to home was Cleveland Cliffs. And for those of you that don't know about Cleveland Cliffs, they're a major steel player in the United States. Mm-hmm. They own mines all over upper Minnesota. Mm-hmm. They're down in Indiana. They're in PA. They're in Illinois. They're
steel manufacturer.
They're a steel manufacturer. Hibbing, Minnesota is their big taconite mine.
Yep. And taconite's the raw material to make the steel.
Right. The iron, is it the iron ore? Yeah. And they have 2 of their mines up there that are sitting idle. And this happened a little bit ago, but 630 workers out of a job.
So explain it to me.
So I can't explain that to you, but I will say this. 630 workers in the town of Hibbing, they probably built their lives around that place.
100%.
That's sad.
3rd, 4th, 5th generation.
Right. Dad worked there, grandpa worked there, there's not much else up there.
Yeah, that sucks.
If you look on a map, that's that whole range right there.
But explain it to me.
Explain what?
All right, we're tariffing Chinese steel.
Mm-hmm.
We should be ramping up our steel production, shouldn't we?
We should
Unless
be.
we're exporting as well. I don't know.
Unless those were inefficient plants or operations. But I did have an interesting conversation with a customer actually just today. So I said, hey, how are the tariffs affecting your steel? Well, they're not. I said, really? Okay. He goes, we buy our steel mostly U.S., and right away when the word came out, they went up like 8%, 25% in some cases, which equated to like 20 to 30, I'm sorry, not 20%, 20 cents a pound.
Okay.
Which equated to X amount. But he said, believe it or not, they're back down to normal already today. He goes, my only fear is we've always bought U.S. based, this customer said. All the people across the street or down other customers that weren't buying U.S. based steel, now it is getting to the point where it is cheaper to buy U.S. based steel. And now he's worried about his supply drying up.
Sure.
Where they were doing the right thing, right, wrong, or indifferent. I shouldn't say that.
They were doing right for them.
They were doing right for them. And now this is affecting them indirectly when they were already doing it, because now they're going to have to worry about supply chain issues.
They should maybe lock down some contracts.
Right. Or pre-buy, stored in the yard.
Stored here.
Yeah, good. On that same note, Cleveland Cliffs also is shutting down 3 plants.
3 plants.
2 in PA and 1 in Illinois as well. So I don't know if it's long term. I don't know if someone else is going to buy them up and get them running. But it doesn't make sense if these tariffs are supposed to be doing that. Is it making way for something else? Is it, hey, we got to shut these down so we can pump up some other plants to maybe there's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sure somebody like Stuart knows the answer, and Stuart will comment and tell us.
He will.
Yeah.
He's a wealth, this book of knowledge. You know.
That was a challenge, Stuart.
It was. He'll have as soon as he hears that, he will have a response.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shout out to everyone again. Thanks for listening. Great week. Hope you have a good week, and see you. Like, share, and send it to a friend, and let it play overnight.
Subscribe.
Yeah,
please.
and subscribe.
Good and bad comments.
Yeah. Not bad reviews.
Not bad reviews.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you guys.